Hey everybody, I enjoyed seeing you this morning at our virtual class meeting, and so we're going to continue our read aloud of I Love You, Michael Collins. We are on page 158. Then what then, he asked. What if one of them calls? Of course, as far as I knew, other than the calls I'd answer from Buster, the phone hadn't rung at all when I was home, unless it was Vinny calling for Bess when she was still here. I suppose it could have rung when I was out in the morning picking up the newspaper from the pavement. I didn't think to take it off the hook when I was doing that, or even when I was in the bathroom with the door closed and the water running loud because I was brushing my teeth. Maybe not, but maybe. What if they call me and I'm not here? I said. How will any of them be able to find each other again if I'm not here? Buster looked at me. I don't know, I shrugged. I don't know why I have to stay here. I just do. Okay, then what do we do? I felt his hand leaving mine. How can I help? He didn't wait for an answer. We were going to make the cake today, right? So that's what we did. It was a useless puddle. So while I was still being that, Buster rooted around in the cabinets until he found the Betty Crocker white cake mix, which is great cake to make if you ever need to make one. He studied the instructions on the back of it. Then he set the oven and got out the pans we'd need and the mixer and the other ingredients we'd have to add, like oil and eggs. By the time he was ready to pour the dry mix into the mixing bowl, I was ready to join him. After setting out the portable fan so we wouldn't get too hot, and then we just worked together side by side. Sometimes I would feel Buster's eyes on me, but he didn't say anything more about the situation with my family, not even when, occasionally, I'd feel a tear tracing its way down my face. When we were done mixing and it came time to pour the batter into the pans, we decided to leave more than the usual amount of batter in the bowl for licking later. There was no one to tell us not to, so we enjoyed that as an early lunch during the 45 minutes it took for the cake to bake in the oven. Because of the amount of batter we'd reserved for lunch, the cake came out a little flat and thin, but we didn't mind. I know I told you how on the 4th of July my mom usually sets out red Jell-O next to a white cake with frosting dyed blue, but I figured since this was my party, I'd improve on that and make the frosting special by making it two-toned. Once we'd prepared the icing, added blue food dye to half of it and red food dye to the other half, and then frosted the whole thing, that cake stood up real proud. Or at least plenty proud enough for us. Buster asked what else we needed to do to get it ready for the party, but I told him nothing. I wanted to do the rest of it myself tomorrow. I wanted for at least some of it to be a surprise to someone. And then Buster just stayed with me the whole day. We played a rousing game of astronauts, although Campbell was even less of a participant than usual. When it came time for dinner, Buster called his mom for permission to stay, and she said yes. I made us each one of the TV dinners, and Eleanor and I bought yesterday. It turns out Miss Whitaker has never bought a TV dinner before either, and Buster agreed with me that all those compartments, they are something special. We watched the news together, which is how I learned about John Fairfax, and how we learned for sure that you and the astronauts are at the moon now, orbiting. So close, having come so far. Even after it got dark, Buster stayed with me as long as he could. The first time his mom called, he asked if he could stay a little bit longer, and she said yes. But by the third time she called, there was no little longer to be had. When I asked Buster if he'd come over first thing tomorrow morning, he reminded me about church. Church? I'd forgotten all about church, but Buster was right. Tomorrow was Sunday. You can come with us, Buster offered. I'm sure my mom will say it's okay, and I won't even tell her about your parents. So that's the plan we made. After Buster left, I realized that between church and the party tomorrow, I should take a shower so I could wash my hair and get clean. It seemed like it had been a long time since I had gotten clean. My mom always said I should be sure someone's nearby when I take a shower, just in case I fall. But I couldn't see any way around it. So off I went, being extra careful not to slip and crack my head, because there would be no one but Campbell to call for an ambulance for me if I did. Since it was just me, I left the door open a bit, hoping I could hear the sound of the phone over the rushing shower water. After a while, I thought I did hear something. But when I hurriedly turned off the water, I didn't hear a thing. I stood there, shampooing my hair, hoping so hard that the phone would ring, but it never did. After I finished my shower, I made sure all the doors were locked and got into bed. But I couldn't really sleep for thinking about today and tomorrow. And it was so hot. That's when I realized something. No one was here. I know, I told you that already. And I certainly knew it well enough myself. But this time, when I thought it hit me what I could do. And I thought, to heck with all of them. I grabbed Campbell up out of my hot bed, went down the hall to my parents' bedroom, turned on the air conditioning unit in the window, and lay down on the floor, listening to the hum of it as the cool air began to wash over me. The cat and I just lay side by side, limbs spread out, because it was that kind of hot where a person doesn't even want their skin to touch the other parts of their skin if they can possibly help it. I suppose when you were a cat, the same applies to fur. I liked that all night. There was no one to say yes, no one to say no. Who knows, Michael Collins? Maybe tomorrow I will have cake for breakfast. Sincerely yours, Mamie. All right, see you tomorrow for the next reading.